Imagine a crackling projection booth in some forgotten corner of Hollywood, the reels of film ticking steadily as the house lights finally dim. The audience leans forward, eager for the madcap brilliance of Mel Brooks's 1974 classic, Young Frankenstein. Every eyebrow raised by Gene Wilder, every howling punchline, feels familiar. And then, just as Dr. Frankenstein reaches the moment of triumph, something unexpected happens. The screen flickers, the music stutters, and a completely unhinged Blooper appears. Igor, played by Marty Feldman, suddenly blunders his lines in a way so outrageous, so unpolished, that the entire crew's laughter bleeds right into the soundtrack. Wilder breaks character, Wilder's eyes fill with mirth, and Kenneth Mars, as Inspector Kemp, collapses in genuine, uncontrolled giggles so potent that his head rocks back with a smack echoing through the theater. It's unscripted, unrefined, and undeniably infectious. Yet for nearly 5 decades, this hilarious gaffe remained locked away, deemed too volatile for public release. Until now. Behind this moment of anarchic comedy lies a tangle of studio politics, copyright fears, and a dash of superstition. Mel Brooks, ever the perfectionist, had insisted that only scenes polished to brilliance reach the silver screen. His razor-sharp editing style had yielded an icon of parody cinema, every sequence tightly engineered. But the blooper reel? It was another beast entirely. Laughter, Brooks believed, was sacred when it emerged from the character's journey, not from actors tripping over lines or guffawing at each other's flubs. So the studio vault doors clanged shut on the footage, relegating it to a dusty archive filled with outtakes nobody was supposed to see. Yet whispers of the forbidden reel persisted. During rare cast reunions, Wilder would light up at the mere hint of the blooper, describing it as the funniest thing no one was allowed to witness. Feldman, whose bulging eyes and manic timing made Igor a comedic marvel, would grin mischievously and refuse to elaborate. Crew members over the years told informal anecdotes, like the camera operator who cried from laughter and missed his focus, or the grip who nearly fell over a lighting rig. Tales of an impromptu meltdown, where Wilder and Feldman shared a private moment of comedic genius, became part of Hollywood lore. The real turning point came in 2019 when a privately funded restoration project aimed to revive lost treasures from the Brooks archive. Archivists combed through brittle nitrate prints, digitalizing reels thought to be lost forever. Among cartoons, trailers, and alternative takes, they stumbled upon a labeled canister that simply read Franken BPG. Curiosity piqued, they threaded it through the scanner, and there it was, the forbidden blooper, and censored, unedited, raw. At first, the restoration team debated whether to alert Brooks's estate. Would releasing it break some unspoken pact? Would it tarnish the careful perfection of the released film? Yet when co-producer Susan Brooks, Mel's goddaughter, saw the footage, she laughed so hard she wiped tears away. She declared it a gift, a reminder of the joy and camaraderie that fueled the original production. Meanwhile, fans had been clamoring for a glimpse of lost footage for years. Online forums buzzed with speculation about outtakes and hidden frames. Some posted screenshots from blurry, bootlegged VHS tapes rumored to contain snippets, but none delivered the full, uninterrupted comic explosion waiting in the archive. Frame by frame, the newly restored reel revealed unexpected moments. Kenneth Mars flubbing his accent, Madeline Kahn letting out a cackle that echoed through the soundstage, and Wilder himself struggling to stifle giggles, pirate-like laughter bubbling from the master of controlled absurdity. Now, in 2025, the blooper is finally ready for its debut. A special segment on Turner Classic Movies will premiere it in crystal clear HD, accompanied by interviews with surviving cast and crew who recount the day the castle's corridors turned into a playground of hilarity. It's a celebration of the human spark behind cinematic art, the unpredictable magic that no script or director's note can ever fully contain. And as the credits roll on that long-suppressed moment of madness, viewers everywhere will discover that sometimes the greatest treasures are the imperfections we were never meant to see. The castle set was eerily quiet the morning they filmed the climactic brain surgery scene, at least until Marty Feldman and Gene Wilder slipped into their gorilla suits and the prankster spirit took over. Cameras rolled under intense lights as Wilder, in full Dr. Frankenstein makeup, delivered his precise, rehearsed monologue about the modern Prometheus. Feldman, crouched before him, was supposed to grunt obediently, but in a flash of mischief he swapped the script pages. Instead of the stern "Yes, master" line, Feldman barked a wildly anachronistic, "I'll have fries with that." The entire crew burst into guffaws, and Wilder stifled a snort, his hand darting toward his mouth. With one eye on the lenses, director Mel Brooks tried valiantly to maintain decorum. He called "quiet on set" into the megaphone, his voice cracking as the off-camera laughter rose to a crescendo. Kenneth Mars, standing nearby, tapped his cane, an unscripted signal of solidarity, and joined in, bellowing a high-pitched, "This is outrageous." That was the moment cameras caught his cane smacking Wilder's shoulder by accident. Wilder's wig nearly shifted off balance, and for a heartbeat it looked like the whole sequence would derail. But the chaos only fueled the hilarity. Feldman collapsed in a fit of wheezing laughter. Wilder's eye smirk widened, and Mars fell back against a prop table, sending rubber rats scuttling across the floor. In the control room, Mel Brooks clasped his jaw. He loved comedy born from spontaneity, yet he also understood the value of a polished final cut. He muttered into his binder, "This can't see the light of day." Studio executives, gathered around the viewing monitors, exchanged glances. The outtake had no narrative value, they argued, and risked undermining the film's mock-serious tone. A memo was drafted by head of production, stamped urgent. All footage labeled Blooper Can 3 is off-limits. Destroy or vault immediately. The reels were loaded into steel cans and locked away in a climate-controlled archive beneath the studio lot. For years, the Franken BPG label became synonymous with forbidden comedy, only whispered about during cast reunions or among film students hunting rare examples of genuine on-set spontaneity. Even the Blooper compilations Mel Brooks released in 1992 carefully omitted this reel, citing technical issues, and the official Young Frankenstein DVD deferred to the director's commentary. "I love them all, but some moments are too personal." That status quo held until the archive suffered water damage in 2018. A forgotten sprinkler head froze in winter runoff, leaving several cans rusted and mold-speckled. Archivists, racing to salvage nitrate prints, discovered the Franken BPG canister buried behind promotional trailers and language dubbing tests. No one expected to find uncut bloopers. They braced for ruined footage. Instead, the film emerged in remarkable shape. Flawless 35mm reels, sound intact, laughter preserved in crystalline detail. Susan Brooks, Mel's goddaughter and now custodian of his estate, was summoned. In a dimly lit screening room, she watched the outtake with tears of laughter cascading down her cheeks. She realized this raw moment captured the very spirit Brooks had always championed: genuine human connection, uncaged creativity, and the sheer joy of performance. With a single nod, she greenlit its restoration and approved a one-time public release. The plan? A global Lost Laughs event on Turner Classic Movies, a celebration of cinema's behind-the-scenes magic. Viewers would witness the blooper in full, uncut, unredacted, and unashamed. And as the countdown to premiere began, anticipation swelled among cinephiles, critics, and casual fans alike, all eager to finally see that forbidden flash of madness in the Frankenstein castle. On the evening of the premiere, film buffs around the world tuned into Turner Classic Movies with bated breath. The special Lost Laughs event began with scenes from the pristine restoration process, archivists explaining the thrill of uncovering the forbidden footage. Interviews with Susan Brooks spliced alongside classic clips set the stage. Viewers saw Mel Brooks at his editing desk, ear pressed to speakers, suppressing a grin at the sound of Feldman's unscripted crack. Then the screen cut abruptly to the blooper itself, cascading laughter, the actors collapsing in genuine hilarity as cameras continued to roll. Social media exploded in real time. Twitter lit up with #FrankenBlooper, hashtags trending in minutes. Memes sprang up depicting Mars's cane as a comedic weapon, Feldman's bulging eyes captioned with absurd quips, internet personalities dissecting every frame. For many, this was the first time they glimpsed the raw chemistry at the heart of Young Frankenstein. Critics who once championed Brooks's meticulous editing praised this unscripted outtake as the purest form of comedic art. Film schools incorporated the clip into curricula, teaching emerging directors how intentional imperfection can enhance storytelling. Vine compilations resurfaced, referencing Wilder's face morphing from controlled genius to unbridled amusement. Podcast hosts cued debates. Should bloopers ever be hidden, or do they belong in the public domain as artifacts of creative spontaneity? The broadcast also featured live reactions from Marty Feldman's daughter, Frances, who shared bittersweet recollections. She described how her father's infectious laughter echoed through the castle set, teaching everyone the value of spontaneity. Kenneth Mars's widow sent a video tribute, recalling how his hearty cackle brightened even the most grueling shooting days. Rick Baker, the makeup wizard behind Wilder's monstrous visage, explained how breaks in character fueled morale during marathon film sessions. Meanwhile, young comedians found fresh inspiration. At a New York comedy club, performers reenacted the blooper with modern riffs, paying homage to an era when flubs could be as brilliant as scripted lines. Film bloggers dissected the cultural significance, the fact that an icon of parody could still surprise decades later. Distributor websites reported a 300% spike in DVD and Blu-ray sales as they advertised a new Ultimate Collector's Edition, complete with rarely seen rehearsal footage and Scott Billingsley's immersive commentary. Trade publications chimed in. Variety hailed The Lost Laughs as a watershed moment for archival cinema. The Hollywood Reporter noted how a single reel of celluloid had altered perceptions of perfection in filmmaking. Scholars debated ethics. Did Brooks have the right to suppress laughter, or did the release mark a triumph of transparency? The consensus: audiences craved authenticity, and this blooper delivered it in spades. Across living rooms and theaters, viewers experienced the moment in awed hush, then erupted with laughter that mirrored the original outtake. For a generation raised on behind-the-scenes extras, this wasn't mere curiosity. It validated the notion that art thrives on unpredictability. And as the credits finished rolling on Turner Classic Movies, fans flooded the TCM website, sharing memories of the original film and applauding the decision to reveal the discarded moment of madness. AS film critics and historians unpacked the significance of the newly released blooper. They realized it was far more than a comic curiosity, tapping into a collective hunger for genuine creative chaos. Not since the golden age of silent film had audiences been so granted a peek behind the carefully wrought illusion of movie sets. The laughter of Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman breaking through character boundaries resonated with people who had grown accustomed to digital perfection. Suddenly, studios were pressured to embrace imperfections instead of hiding them. What was once taboo became a selling point. As the buzz grew louder, other major studios began to take notice and curate their own archival treasures. Paramount announced a future home video collection titled Behind the Laughter, promising to include rare outtakes from comedies dating back decades. Warner Brothers teased a vault tour featuring unscripted gaffes from their classic dramas. Directors who had long resisted exposing production secrets suddenly found themselves rethinking. They convened at industry roundtables, debating whether to create official blooper channels to engage streaming audiences. Meanwhile, a new market emerged for collectors seeking authentic celluloid artifacts. At the same time, cast members and descendants of the original Young Frankenstein troupe began organizing a celebratory reunion. The Mel Brooks Foundation sponsored a special event at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, where surviving actors shared anecdotes about the filming process and screened the restored blooper for an intimate audience. In Q&A sessions, Marty Feldman's daughter recounted her late father's mischievous grin as he improvised lines, and audiences marveled at Gene Wilder's self-control as he fought back laughter. Inspired by the event's success, regional film societies scheduled blooper nights, where enthusiasts could submit their own comedy outtakes for communal viewing. Academics and media scholars seized upon the blooper's release as a milestone for film preservation discourse. University courses in film studies incorporated the reel as a primary example of how archival discoveries can reshape historical narratives. Essays ranged from technical analyses of nitrate degradation to philosophical debates about the nature of laughter in performative arts. Some scholars argued that the very act of burying outtakes reflected a fear of complicating legacy, while others celebrated the unfiltered charm. Film festivals introduced rediscovered footage categories, granting awards for the most compelling lost scenes that are in Hollywood's echoing halls. Young Frankenstein's forbidden blooper has achieved a mythic status that rivals any line of dialogue. Its release inspired a renaissance of authenticity, reminding audiences that laughter can be as raw and unpredictable as any plot twist. More importantly, it taught an enduring lesson. No matter how careful the script or how exact the edits, the human spark remains the greatest source of entertainment. As viewers rewind and share the blooper trailer endlessly on social feeds, they're not just indulging in nostalgia. They're affirming that artistry thrives when we celebrate flaws. And as the credits roll once more on Mel Brooks's masterpiece, that flicker of unscripted hilarity stands as its most enduring, unexpected legacy. Truly unforgettable, as film critics and scholars continue to analyze the significance of the newly revealed Young Frankenstein blooper, a new chapter unfolded beyond the silver screen. Streaming services race to secure the rights to include the segment in curated collections, with Turner Classic Movies adding Lost Laughs to its on-demand library alongside other restored treasures. HBO Max announced a special anniversary tribute featuring interviews with cast members, sound technicians, and archivists, offering viewers an in-depth look at the recovery process. The blooper's availability on digital platforms transformed it from a fleeting television event into a permanent fixture of cinematic history, accessible anytime by anyone curious about the unpredictable alchemy of comedy. Home video distributors also seized the moment. A deluxe collector's edition Blu-ray of Young Frankenstein was released, containing the fully restored blooper reel, alternate takes, storyboards, and director's notebooks scanned with annotations by Mel Brooks himself. Early sales reports showed the edition selling out within hours in major markets, proving that audiences still hunger for tangible media that honors film heritage. Special screenings at art house cinemas sold out too, often paired with live commentary from film historians and appearances by surviving crew members, turning each showing into a communal celebration of laughter and creative risk. Inspired by the success of the Young Frankenstein release, preservationists launched a crowd-funded initiative called Real Revelations. The fund's mission was to locate, repair, and digitize lost footage from classic comedies, from screwball comedies of the 1930s to silent film slapstick. The initiative attracted contributions from filmmakers, studios, and dedicated fans, raising millions in its first year. Archives around the globe opened previously sealed vaults, revealing bloopers and outtakes that had been forgotten or intentionally hidden. Each discovery reinforced the lesson that errors and improvisations can reveal as much about artistry as the intended narrative, prompting a re-examination of how film heritage is defined and valued. Documentarians and podcasters turned their lenses toward the broader context of archival suppression. In a 2024 film titled Uncensored Takes, directors conducted interviews with estate managers, editors, and historians to explore the ethics of hiding flawed footage. They highlighted the Young Frankenstein blooper as a pivotal case study, demonstrating how one lost moment, once freed, could shift institutional attitudes. The documentary sparked lively debates at film festivals, panels, and online forums, where thousands shared stories of hidden gems they believed deserved public release. Meanwhile, the Mel Brooks Foundation formalized annual grants for academic research and community screenings. Universities offered fellowships for master's and doctoral students to study the impact of unscripted material on audience reception, exploring psychological reactions to spontaneity versus polished performance. Local cinemas organized blooper blockbusters nights, inviting guests to bring homegrown outtakes to share, encouraging a culture of open celebration rather than concealment. Through these initiatives, the once forbidden Young Frankenstein blooper transcended its role as a simple gag. It became a catalyst for a global movement toward transparency, preservation, and joyful rediscovery. Audiences learned that the magic of cinema resides not only in flawless execution in the end. The Young Frankenstein blooper became far more than a hidden fragment of film lore. It emerged as a symbol of the joy that springs from unscripted human connection. Comedy, the blooper reminded the world, is not just in timing or polished lines, but in vulnerability, spontaneity, and the willingness to embrace imperfection. As modern audiences streamed the restored footage on tablets and projectors lit vintage cinemas, the laughter that once echoed through a closed soundstage now resonated across generations, uniting fans old and new. The impact rippled through Hollywood's corridors of power. Studios adopted imperfection policies, committing to include outtakes in special editions and online bonus features. Directors invited editors to flag moments of unintentional brilliance rather than splicing them out. Actors, liberated by the Young Frankenstein case, began negotiating for blooper rights in their contracts, ensuring that no burst of genuine laughter would remain buried in a vault. Even guilds and unions cited the case in meetings, advocating for greater transparency and preservation of all creative artifacts, not just the final cuts in classrooms. Budding filmmakers studied the blooper alongside lighting diagrams and shot lists, learning that controlling chaos can be as artistic as orchestrating precision. Screenwriting courses began including modules on improvisation, encouraging students to leave storyroom time for unexpected discoveries. Archivists developed best practices for cataloging and restoring outtakes, while museums mounted exhibits celebrating the art of the unscripted. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences even inaugurated a Lost Laughter Award, honoring restorations or releases of significant suppressed moments. For the descendants of Young Frankenstein's original cast and crew, the journey had a personal resonance. Marty Feldman's family established a scholarship fund for comedy students at the British Film Institute. Gene Wilder's estate partnered with the Mel Brooks Foundation to endow a lecture series on the evolution of parody and improvisation. Kenneth Mars's widow donated his original cane, with a discreet inscription reading "Laughter Unleashed" to the Academy Museum, where visitors now pause to reflect on the power of a single unscripted moment. Across digital platforms, the story of the blooper fueled countless user-generated tributes, GIFs capturing Wilder's stifled giggles, TikToks reenacting Mars's cane misstep, and Twitter threads discussing the ethical considerations of archival suppression. The phrase, "release the laughter," became a rallying cry for fans advocating the publication of unseen footage, whether from classic films or modern series. Streaming giants responded by adding blooper features to their interfaces, making behind-the-scenes authenticity an expected part of the viewing experience. Ultimately, the rediscovery and release of the Young Frankenstein blooper underscored a timeless truth. Art is a living conversation between creator and audience, enriched by honesty, surprise, and shared delight. What was once guarded behind vault doors became a gift to the world, a reminder that in cinema, as in life, our greatest strength lies in our capacity to laugh at ourselves. And when that blooper first flickered on screen, silencing the castle's hallways with spontaneous hilarity, it opened the door to a new era, one where every misstep, every flub, and every burst of genuine laughter could find its place in the collective story of human creativity.